I'm here at Internet of Things World 2017 with Shannon Southwick, Director of IoT at Plug and Play. Shannon, great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your organisation and what it involves.
Sure. So I am Shannon Southwick, like you said, and I am the Director of IoT at Plug and Play Tech Center. So just a bit about Plug and Play. We are a global innovation platform where we run 12 different themed acceleration programs, and we work with over 150 large corporations on their innovation strategies. So essentially what we do, for me specifically, we run an IoT acceleration program 3 months, twice per year, and we have over 30 large corporations that are partnering with us that specifically look into the IoT field. So what we're trying to do is help these startups grow, accelerate, and simultaneously we are working with these large corporate partners who are looking to innovate and find kind of the right startup to work with, whether that's in working on pilots, partnership, licensing deal, or even investments. We are also an investor, so we invest in early stage startups. So we do kind of the investment side of things, matchmaking with large corporations and startups, and ultimately we're trying to create a global ecosystem for startups and innovation.
So how crucial are startups to the Internet of Things industry? What kind of role do they play?
I think they play a very important role. So what we see with our corporate partners, the fact that we have 30 plus large corporations that are looking into IoT really says a lot. It says a lot, and specifically in the IoT acceleration program. It's difficult for large corporations to really do all of this IoT stuff. IoT is so broad anyway, they can't do everything internally, and it doesn't really make much sense to try to do everything internally. And startups especially are so fast at growing, they have these big ideas, and the ones that can execute, they execute well, and they are so flexible and nimble. They have the speed that large corporations often do not have. So I think they will play a really big role. Of course, startups can really grow and kind of establish themselves on their own, but I also think that there's going to be a lot of collaborations between large corporations and startups in the IoT field where they're going to build things together.
Are there any particular verticals or technologies where startups are making really good headway?
So I think IoT, again, being a very broad area, there's a lot happening, but within our program and kind of just what our corporate partners are looking for, I do think the B2B area is becoming much larger, and things like industrial IoT is a very hot topic. Again, this is kind of in the back end. Before, it was more the consumer-facing side of IoT that was really on the news. Everyone got excited about, connected watches, the consumer side of things. But now people are looking into more what they can do to improve operations within a business, let's say in the factory setting, because just being able to increase efficiency in the manufacturing side a little bit makes millions of difference for a large corporation. Another big part is, say, kind of the smart city aspect is really big, so infrastructure building, smart city. But this is, of course, a longer project. I think corporations as well as kind of local governments are looking into the smart city aspect of things. But I think this will take a bit longer because there's the mobility aspect, there's IoT, smart buildings, but that is also going to be an area that everyone will look into too. So industrial IoT I think is huge, and then also the smart city type IoT.
And are there any particular IoT startups that you find really stand out and you think other up-and-coming IoT companies should be emulating?
So I like to talk about the startups in our program, naturally, because we want to give them as much exposure as possible. I'll talk about two that are actually here at IoT World in the Startup City portion that we brought with us. So one is Emotion Research Lab. So they do emotion recognition technology. They are based out of Valencia, Spain, and they're here. And they're getting a lot of traction with large corporations that we've introduced them to. Essentially what's really cool about them is they do, the basic emotion recognition. When you see a demo, it looks really cool too, because you'll see yourself, and then it has all these kind of lines, and then it says in every second, sad, upset, surprise, and it shows all these emotions. But they're also working on things like mood, which is a lot more complex apparently than the basic emotions. It takes more time to analyze. mood, as in it's a combination of basic emotions, and it takes a lot longer to analyze that. But they also do this not on just an individual basis, but they can do it on a crowd too. So imagine you are a keynote speaker at IoT World, being able to see when people were most engaged, when people lost interest in your speech, if they actually thought your joke was funny. I mean, that's a very powerful tool. So I think that's very exciting. The second startup that I would like to highlight is kind of on that industrial IoT area that I mentioned. So they are called Metrics. They do computer vision kind of predictive maintenance. So they can even use just an iPad, but what's powerful is the software behind it. So you can take a picture of, let's say, a machine, pipes, and you're able to analyze where the most stress is, kind of in the stress point. It shows it in different colors, and it's very quick, very applicable in a lot of industrial settings. And the technology can actually even be used for like skin. As it can kind of see the stress level on skin. Basically, this guy, the founder, Kamal, is so smart. He has kind of a PhD, MBA, the whole bit. And it started out with him presenting this new technology for actually more kind of health or like skin. And then all these makeup companies were interested in what they had to do, but he realized that could be applicable also to an industrial setting. They could use that same software there. So I think with a company like Metric, what was really great is kind of the pivot that they do. I think they still look at the health, skin area, but they saw a huge opportunity with the technology that they have in this industrial setting. So as a startup, they're able to pivot to kind of adapt to that. So I love seeing that with startups in our program.
Sure. And last of all, are there any common mistakes you see startups making a lot with the Internet of Things in the industry? And if so, what advice would you have for them?
I don't know if it's specific to IoT, but a lot of these IoT solutions, I think there's kind of multiple use cases, let's say, but really knowing who you're pitching to is very important. I've seen some startups have a private meeting with a large corporation and kind of say, this is the solution we have for you. And then the corporation saying, well, that's interesting, but we don't really do it in that way. So this is kind of a basic startup 101, not necessarily IoT, but really knowing the use cases, if that's applicable to the people you're pitching to, is huge. Sometimes I think it's worth kind of just asking who you're meeting, what their problems are first before saying what the solution you can have, because again, if you have multiple use cases with IoT, you really want to make sure that you're presenting the right one, and that'll really help with your credibility as well.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.